Hello everyone. I just wanted to go through one last video, or maybe the second to last video, and just go through what may or may not come up on the paper tomorrow and what to expect for A-level computer science. So first of all, I thought I'd look at a past paper. Hopefully you've looked through these. This I've got from Physics and Maths Tutor. You can get the last umpteen years of papers from there, and this is the one from 2023, so 2 years ago. Obviously the questions aren't going to be applicable because we're on target clear this year. I think it was DASTAN that year. This is the paper. Tomorrow you should have a computer and a printer and appropriate software, which in the case of C# is our centre is Visual Studio, and you put your answers into this electronic answer document, of course, which we'll have a look at in a minute, and hopefully look at some possible predictions based on what that looks like. Okay. You should have an electronic copy and a hard copy of the skeleton code, and then you should have an electronic copy and a hard copy of the preliminary material, which is basically just explaining to you what target clear is. And you don't use a calculator for this exam, okay? But of course there's nothing to stop you using your calculator by using your programming language as a calculator, but you shouldn't need one anyway for this exam. Okay, so you will have an electronic answer document. Make sure that you put your name and your centre number and candidate number in the footer so that it appears on every page, and also on the cover, obviously. Pages do go missing. You print them out single-sided, and make sure that you answer answer all questions, and save your work at regular intervals. Don't lose it. And just going on for that, with target clear, my advice is work in light mode on Visual Studio. If you don't know how to do that, quick Google will soon sort you out. Light mode, not dark mode. Very hard to read dark mode on printed sheets. And make sure you keep the code separate. So load it into Notepad and then copy it in for each question in section C. So first of all, you get this section A. You get about 40 minutes. You shouldn't really spend longer than 40 minutes on this section. If you want to attribute your time in the way it's been recommended in the paper. It's not published here because it's not coloured paper, but it'll be maybe this year it was a puzzle. I think last year there were a few questions on the Turing machine and finite state machines, that type of thing. This is a puzzle question for a couple of marks. Here you're looking at binary trees, this sort of thing. So algorithms, comparing binary search algorithms and binary tree searches, that sort of thing. Good idea to have a look at big O time complexity. There might be a question or two on that. Okay. Obviously here we're looking at regular languages. Make sure you've revised this stuff. Mr. Brown, CS, does an excellent set of videos for revision, quite snappy and quite to the point. If not, of course, there's always Craig and Dave video channel, YouTube channel for any of this. Make sure that you've kind of looked at all the syllabus. Try and revise it all. Okay. Here we've got like a Turing machine again, actually. So if you don't understand what this is going on here, it's quite easy actually. I'm not going to explain it in this video, but you might want to make sure that you understand what's going on with these. None of these questions are particularly hard. They're only hard if you don't know them and if you've not revised them. So worth a quick look at the video on things like the Turing machine and finite state diagrams, that type of thing. Make sure you've watched them tonight. And then here we've got you know, like a trace table by the look of it. Let's just move it on. And then section B. So hopefully you've practiced a few of these section Bs from past papers. You get 20 minutes for this. The danger here is that you try and get this program working. It's quite hard sometimes to get this program working in 20 minutes flat. You might do it, you might not. Depends on the day of the exam. But the thing is, harvest the marks the best you can. If you were to look at the marking scheme for this, the 12 marks is worth getting if you can get the program working. But don't forget, you can get 7, 8, 9 marks just for getting all the relevant things by assigning the right kind of variables, making sure that there's the iteration in there if need be, that you're doing some sort of comparisons and things like this. All of that is taken into account. The object of this is not to, you know, impress Bill Gates to get a job or something like that. The idea of it is to get as many marks as you can on this exam paper, and you might find those last 2 or 3 marks are infinitely harder to get than the first 8, shall we say, and it might be worth moving on rather than spending a load of time on that and then suddenly find you've not got enough time for the section C. So section C is on the is theory questions on the skeleton code on target clear. So 20 minutes for that. Okay, so you know, there's a few marks there. Make sure you know the difference, say, between iteration and recursion, that type of thing. You know, I'm not going to look at those because this all relates to DASTAN rather than target clear. Target clear is what you're doing tomorrow. Okay, so we'll look at some theory questions either in this video or in the next video applicable for tomorrow. Section D is where, you know, 70 minutes. So this is kind of like the bulk of the exam, really. A lot of marks to be gained here by making your changes. So there's usually 4 questions to do that. Again, I'm not going to look at that. What I am going to do is I'm going to bring up the electronic answer document for tomorrow. So hopefully you've seen this already. Your teacher should have shown it you well in advance. They probably have. You may not have always found it. And you can see how you put your answers into this electronic answer document. Screen prints of your code. So you've got your section A here. You put your answers in here, and then you leave this column blank for the examiner. So you can see there's 11 marks, 2 marks, and then question 3, section 3, there's a question. Then there's this, you know, bunch of squares here, and then you've got another question on question 3, and further going on here. So I would say, I would, you know, we sort of ran through this with my students today. There seemed to be talk that we thought that this was going to be like an adjacency diagram type of thing. Okay. Again, you know, maybe this is an adjacency matrix, some sort of thing like that that's going on. Very difficult to know. Could be a trace table there. Okay. But I would say that you know, I would say that does look like some kind of adjacency matrix. Okay, so well worth revising that and you know, the subjects around that. Now we're getting on to section C here. So these are the theoretical questions. Now bear in mind that part of the question on this is converting infix notation to postfix or reverse Polish notation, and I am wondering, so we thought that this was some sort of a comparison of infix to postfix, and we wondered whether this was something to do with converting the two. Again, that's a guess. These guesses don't come with any guarantees at all, so don't come looking for me if I've got this wrong, but that was just a thought that we had. and there's your 14 marks for that. And then question 7 and question 8, you know, 2 or 3 marks then to pick up. Then you've got your section D. Okay, so this is 4 questions, 5 marks for the first question. So this will be, you know, post your code in here. This will be post your screen print of the solution working or not working here to get your extra mark. So I would say you're not posting the whole code in, you're just posting in your changes. Make it clear where you've made your changes. Okay, comment the start of your change and the end of your change, or comment the line where you've made a change, and put your changes in here. Read the question. Okay, RTFQ, read the flipping question. Make sure that you're answering it in the way that they want to. If it's asking you to solve a problem using regular expressions, don't try and solve it using contains or something like that. Okay, you might miss out on marks by just not reading the question. If it tells you to amend, I don't know, check the numbers are in, you know, user input or something like that, don't make your changes in play game, which is, you know, you could do, but try and do what they ask to do. Okay, so there's 4 questions there. So you've got a 5 marker, an 8 marker, a 12 marker, and a 14 marker. So you can see these are going to be progressively getting harder. Again, I would say try and answer all the questions. You might not get this working, say, for the 5 marks, but if you get 3 marks for it and you manage to get a couple marks here because you've just put a new method in, you know, you get your mark for putting a new method in, you get your mark for declaring the right kind of variable, you get the mark for, you know, requesting input from the user, which I think most people can do, even if they can't get the program. So you can do that maybe in 2 or 3 minutes here, whereas, you know, getting this working might take you another 10 minutes or whatever to get it working if you're not working on it. And sometimes when you go back to a problem that you've left, sometimes you think, oh, I don't know why I was struggling with that. You know, it's quite easy, and sometimes going back to a problem, you suddenly find that your brain has either been working on it in the background, or you've spotted something you didn't see before because you've got down a bit of a rabbit hole or something. Okay, so that is it. Okay, 2 hours 30 minutes. Do your screen prints in, you know, and various things into this document is the key. Work in light mode, not dark mode. Make sure your font size is a decent size so the examiner can read it. Make it clear where you've made the changes, you know, spell it out to the examiner where you've got the marks, and don't get stuck on a question. Move on, come back to it. Don't chase those really hard, you know, marks at the end of something where something isn't working, and you keep being determined to do it rather than moving on and, you know, not maybe getting some of the easier marks further on, or at least, you know, some of the partial marks. Okay, all the best for the exam tomorrow, guys, and I'll leave it for now. I will hopefully just go through some theory questions as one last video, but all the best for tomorrow. Bye for now.